Mayor, you ready to begin?
Ready?
Okay, Robert ARIES.
Good evening.
Are you going to play the role of Simon Cowell here?
Yeah.
I guess the advantage and
Okay.
disadvantage of having an A in the last name. Ruth, you can relate?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to read the statement. I'm going to read the first question. At the end of my reading the question, then Diana will start the time, and you can look toward her every once in a while, but she'll give you a 30-second yellow, and then the red stop. Okay. So the first question is really a opportunity for you to do a short personal statement. So, why are you interested in serving on the city's planning commission? In your response, please include a summary of your relevant education, skills, and experience, including any past civic involvement. And I will say that the council does have copies of your applications. You can begin.
Okay. My name is Rob Arias. I've interfaced, I think, with all of you on some level. I am approaching my 10-year anniversary as an Emeryville resident. Will be in October. For the first 7 or 8 years, I didn't really get involved that much. And about 2.5 years ago, I was robbed at gunpoint just a few blocks from here, and it was a wake-up call to me to get more involved in Emeryville. So I'm part of the Park Avenue District Committee, and as most of you know, I write what I consider an objective blog about the city of Emeryville, for the most part. So I don't know if that's a conflict of interest for reporting about the city, but I guess that's up for you to decide if it's compatible, with working with the city, while at the same time holding the city accountable, I guess, for its decisions. So my experience is I have a Bachelor of Science at Cal Poly State University, San Luis Obispo, in graphic communications, about 20 years of experience in graphic design, web design, branding, very visual person and thinker. And I think all the experience that I have, I'm not an urban planner or an architect, but I think they're adaptable skills that would contribute to the overall knowledge base of residents that could make the Planning Commission more viable and efficient and effective in doing our duty. The Sherwin-Williams project, obviously, is a big one, and another one that is something that kind of drove me to get involved and be a part of this position. And it's something that I intend to keep very close eyes on, and I feel like I'm an advocate for my neighborhood and one that is going to report on happenings in that, and this will give me an inside track for doing so. Thank you.
Okay. Question 2. What do you see as the role of a planning commissioner?
Well, it states that it's for a regulatory and advisory role. My assumption is that means I'm to make recommendations based on my knowledge and, of course, the collective group of planning commission positions on what we think the city should move forward with. As a resident, I'm pretty engaged in the community, and I talk with residents. I think I have a fairly clear idea on what they want, what's important to them, and it's my role to be an aggregate of their opinions, their ideas, and of course, their demands for what they want in our city, our neighborhood, and our town. The general plan, apparently an award-winning document. I feel like it's kind of the Bible for our city, and it's up to the Planning Commission to uphold that document and make sure that it's followed to the T, really. I've reviewed the document itself, the general plan. It's pretty complicated and pretty big, 236 pages, I do believe. And I think it's going to fall on us as residents to really bind together and advocate for this document that will hopefully guide the city to prosperity. That's it.
And just to remind people that you can't accumulate your minutes, so each minute is 2 minutes. Okay. Next question is, describe your knowledge of the city's general plan and any other major planning documents that have been adopted by the City Council in the past 2 years.
Like I said, it's a very thorough document. In my industry, in graphic design and web design, we create what are called style guides, and they're not that much different than I think what a general plan is. You define elements, you define textures, you define, in the case of the general plan, you define heights of buildings, you define materials, you define, just the overall look and feel of the buildings and things that are go into making a city. The more succinct that is, the clearer the rules are in following that, and hopefully it eliminates the gray area that can go into creating a building and development and making sure that it fits the idea of what the city is all about, our character, our heritage, and our community. Thank you.
Okay. Describe your knowledge of this, fourth question. Give one example of a recent economic development or housing project in Emeryville that exemplifies your point of view regarding design, community benefit, and/or community process, and explain why.
One of the things I've written about before on my blog is I'll start with the negative side. The Greenway East building, something that maybe went up prior to the general plan. I don't think it's something that fits the general plan, honestly. I feel like personally it's something that's more appropriate for a town like Concord or Fremont, a lot of cookie cutter type of buildings where the heritage of Emeryville is more brick and iron and raw materials. I don't see any of that with the Greenway East building. It's not a building that I really feel fits the character. So I feel like if I was involved in the Planning Commission at that point, that I would have done whatever I can to advocate against it. I feel like it kind of went against, it must have, because of redevelopment, kind of snuck in through there. On the positive end, Doyle Hollis Park, perfectly executed. The wood slats, the public art, it's beautiful. I love being there, and I really feel like the Planning Commission did their job in upholding the idea of the general plan there. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Brinkman, any
Yes.
follow-up questions?
Let's start with Jennifer and kind of work our way across. Jennifer, do you have a question for us?
I just have a question. You kind of alluded to this in terms of character that you see in Emeryville and what kinds of things you would see going forward that might either add to the mix that we currently have or change the mix in terms of development, whether it's residential. Well, let's focus specifically on residential, I guess. What style or type of development? Are there any characteristics that you would hope to see in future development?
More brick, more iron, more industrial look and feel that I feel like is part of the heritage of Emeryville. We used to be a town of warehouses and factories, and I feel like that should be reflected in a little bit in everything we do. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Jack, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, this might overlap a little bit with Jennifer's, but I'm interested in hearing you talk a little bit about the way that the Planning Commission can support the goal of family-friendly housing and a family-friendly environment for Emeryville. How do you see the Planning Commission's role in supporting that?
Well, I know it's been a big initiative with new developments especially, to include units with at least 3 bedrooms. I've had conversation with developers that they feel like they're possibly trying to shoehorn in, was the word that they used, family-friendly housing, where developments need to be built specifically for the purpose of including families, play structures, jungle gyms. So new developments, I would like to see have a more cohesive goal of being family-friendly and not just applying these bonus structures that they have for making them fit, you know, according to the rules of what family-friendly housing is. So
Thank you.
more cohesive, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Would you like to go, Nora?
Oh, Rob, is there any, I was interested in your comments on the built environment. Is there any building in the built environment that you consider a good building?
Building in the built-in environment?
In the built environment, any of the new buildings that you feel express Emeryville?
Yeah. Well, of course, my own building, the Lower House Lofts. Fantastic job. Well executed. An existing structure that was retrofitted and adapted to honor what it used to be. But, you know, with a fresh look and, you know, a more clean, optimistic expression. Icon, not bad as well. I haven't seen the final product of Archstone, but I like the way they're at least integrating some of the existing architecture of the building, of the previous building, into there. Whatever can be done to include references to Emeryville's history, its past, and hopefully as much of the treasures of the buildings that we still have and maintain, I think is beneficial to our heritage.
Ruth, do you have a question?
Yeah, the planning commission will see elevations, drawings of how prospective buildings will look. And my question, with a graphic eye, would imagine those would be fairly transferable. But some of that is, would like to know if you saw that something was going to be steel clad here or whatever, like just your ability to envision the final product, including whatever landscaping or other amenities are put in there. So if you could speak to your knowledge of like plant palettes or the skin on the building or some of the features in a building, in a building's exterior that you would pay attention to.
Yeah. You're right. These renderings that you often see in these plans are these kind of optimized, fictional, you know, renderings of what it's going to be. So you have to have a visual mind and be able to forecast what this is going to translate to, you know, in the real world. It's something I've done, you know, in the digital space. I've done some environmental design for things. I know the details, I guess, to look for that may or may not translate to real life or into a dimensional, an actual three-dimensional a view of things. You can't express texture in renderings. You got to know, okay, give me something tangible that's going to help me visualize and bring this to life, and not just a rendering. So sometimes it means asking more questions, providing examples, referring me to something living that they either were inspired by or that they're looking to imitate. So I think providing real-world examples of things, you know, can all contribute to bringing something to life.
Anything else? I guess I have a question, and mine is, we talked about friendly family housing, we talked about housing in general, but one of my interests is how do you make it housing community, make it part of the community? Because I think a lot of the products are some of the projects that we have in Emeryville miss that aspect. It's maybe it's a loft, maybe it's live work type space, but even with that live work type of space, it seems to be kind of closed off. And I think that one of the most important things I would be looking for is somebody that says, how can we make this project so that people have their eyes on the street and some people get to know their neighbors? Because a lot of our projects, the driveways on the back, and you drive in, you don't really see anybody, any of your neighbors. So what is your perspective? You talked about the scale and the type, but how would you make a project?
Yeah. Well, I think it was a Steve Jobs quote, great artists steal, right? I think there's good examples and references out there for us to apply to what we're doing. There's open spaces, there's just methods of, getting the community to congregate more. When you section things off, when you divide, it's just not conducive to that. So I think, if I was given this position, it would be a point for me to do as much research as possible on what works and what doesn't, and having a better, clearer idea from the people I talk to, what's successful and what is not for encouraging integration. Dog parks are another good example. I didn't know 10% of my neighbors until I got a dog.
Oh.
You incorporate a dog park into a neighborhood, you're going to get to know all your neighbors, and you're going to create community.
Okay.
And that probably goes the same with play structures. If I lived near the Doyle Halls Park and I had a family, I would probably know everybody in my neighborhood as a result.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other follow-up questions for Rob?
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Rob. Do you have anything else, Karen?
Yes,
he has closing
he
remarks.
has closing,
I'm sorry.
1 minute for closing
Yep,
remarks.
I'm sorry.
Starting now.
No.
Well, thanks for having me here. This is the first time I've interviewed for a job in this capacity in a really long time, so it's a good experience regardless of what decisions are made. But I think that we have a lot of qualified applicants, and I think whoever you pick is really going to advocate for our neighborhood, and hopefully I'll have the opportunity to, even if I don't get it, report on good news and happenings in Emeryville, and positive projects and outcomes that are as a result of it. So I'm just glad that we live in a city where there is this opportunity to interface so closely and directly with you, and have the occasional cup of coffee, and make an impact on our community. So I want to thank you all for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So next is